Hey, thank you for tuning in to Fire and Flair. It's been a while. I haven't recorded since April, so it feels really good to have a little recording session. It's a rainy Sunday night. I have a candle lit. I'm in my apartment. This is actually the very first time I've recorded in my apartment, which is crazy, but it feels great because it's like my own little sacred space. I have a really good setup to record, and I don't have to worry about being in anyone else's place and setting up the equipment and having to bring it with me. It just is so much easier. It feels good, and I don't have to worry about any distractions with sounds. I know the quality will be good. So overall, I'm just really excited. It makes recording just feel more fun, and I'm in like my own little good sacred space. So anyways, hello everyone. I'm so excited to be talking again. It just makes me sad because I haven't had as much time to dedicate, but I've had a little downtime now that it's the end of summer, and I was like, I gotta get an episode out there. Like, I feel it in me. The creative juices are starting to come again. I have to do something, even if it's just a short 30-minute talking about whatever. So here I am. Summer is coming to an end soon, which makes me kind of sad because I love summer. I'm just someone who thrives in the sun. I soak up every single minute that I can. I think I said this last year too. Like, it's like I will check the weather for the week and plan my entire week and activities and responsibilities around when I can be outside. So I don't know if you're like me or if you're normal, but every ounce of sun that I can get, I am there. I have to get the vitamin D. I'm like a plant. I can sit in the sun for 8 hours. Like, I wish someone could pay me and that could be my day job. So anyways, needless to say, I will be soaking up our last month of summer that we have. I'll be out of town for Labor Day, but yeah, I just definitely wanted to take advantage of this downtime. And actually, the topic for this episode talks about burnout and how to refill your cup, because that's something that I have definitely felt this year. And I know a lot of people across the board at some point in their life have felt this way or can relate to it. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're burning out and we need time to actually fill our own cup, whatever that may look like for you. But I just kind of wanted this to be something positive as a reminder, especially as we come into the winter months where that seasonal depression can kind of set in. And I've mentioned this before too, like for me, I really just try to keep myself busy so that I don't have time to think about it, although it really starts to affect me by like March. That's when I'm just at my wit's end. And as much as I've tried to keep myself busy, I'm like, I need that vitamin D. Like, where's the sun? Where's the warm weather? But for most of the time, I can get away with keeping myself busy to not think about it. And I've even gotten to a point where I won't do certain activities until winter time. It's like, is this an indoor or outdoor activity? Because again, it's like my entire summer is just based off of being outside, going to my pool, like that sort of thing. So for example, like I really want to try hot yoga, but it'd be wise to do it in the wintertime when, I mean, it's like being in a sauna and you have nothing else to do. So that's an activity I really want to try that I'm holding off on, or like I've really been wanting to take a cooking class.
great indoor activity to do in the winter. So, needless to say, that's kind of what I base my yearly activities around, I guess. And another way to just, I mean, being in Chicago, everyone knows like how this goes. So, again, I recommend just trying to find different activities and things to do. So, I'm kind of going on a tangent about that. But, anywho, I think across the board this year, like, there's been so many positive changes, so many good things, but I don't know what it is this year that I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm always like tired. Like, I just never have enough time, which is crazy because it's like I'm a single person with no kids and like little responsibility. I work Monday through Friday, that sort of thing. But it's just like I had to ask myself, like, why do I just constantly feel like I'm always running on E and I never have enough time for myself and I'm tired? And like it was getting to a point where I was just moody and not myself and like irritable. And that's when I really had to take a step back and be like, what do I need to do to like not feel this way? Like, what are changes that I can make? Because I think it's really easy to go in our day to day routine and just, we like sometimes we don't even realize it's there. And then we start to feel like not ourselves, or we're in a funk in a way, or just we need like a change. And I do think some of that can be contributed to the fact of just not slowing down enough and being mindful. And it's funny because this exact time last year, I had an episode that was kind of similar to this. That was about like hitting the reset button, how to get yourself out of a funk, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to do, like an episode that's just like it. I mean, it's similar vibes, but this one will kind of just talk about other things and take it a different approach to it. And is really just about filling your cup and preventing being in a funk and being burnt out. It's like, how can we make sure that we're maintaining a good quality of life for ourselves so we don't get to that point? So that's kind of what I wanted to bring up in this episode. Because, like I said, it's something that's affected me. I know a lot of people who felt the same. And, like, one thing my therapist said too is it's like this year in particular, I feel like things really picked up in terms of getting back to, I put normal in quotes, from COVID and kind of the way we've been living the last 2 years. It's just, we were kind of used to more like slower pace, like not as many social events, not as many activities with friends, not being on the go as much. Like, I mean, our day to day used to consist of having a commute, having to bring our lunch with us, going to work. It just makes me like realize, how did I do that? I used to have to wear work clothes, drive in my car to work, pack my lunch. Like, it just was so tiring. So, um, I think with things picking up this year, it's kind of taken a little bit more effort, or it doesn't feel as normal as it used to with being on the go all the time. It feels more tiring. It's been an adjustment, and it's something that I didn't think of. Regardless of what your situation looks like in COVID, I think everyone was forced to slow down in some way. So it feels more tiring to have to like go to social activities all the time. And now all the weddings are happening, all the events, and we're still kind of playing catch up. I mean, literally last year, I know so many people that had like 10 plus weddings. So it's kind of playing this catch up game and trying to get back to that point we used to be at with the go, go, go all the time. So that's something my therapist raised that I hadn't thought about. And as someone who likes to be on the go, like it's been an adjustment across the board. And another thing for me is like I've had to get used to living alone and like doing all the chores by myself. And I take care of my cat and I go to work and like I do all these things by myself, which is great. I love it. But compared to other times in my life where maybe I had more help or I didn't have to think about it. So I don't know, just I think this is me thinking out loud, but again, I think everyone can relate to it in some way. And I think I felt burnout most predominantly in the spring, like April, May. Um, I moved into my apartment early March, and before that, like I was getting used to my new job, and that took a lot more out of me than I thought. It was a much bigger adjustment than I thought. I mean, working remotely, one, and then just the amount, like you're having to learn so many new things with a new job. Like the first year really is the toughest because you're learning so much. So that took a lot out of me. And then it was moving and getting used to my new place and having to be in a routine. And then I tried dating a little bit back in the spring and was like being social during the week and trying to like balance this and do this on the weekends. Like my calendar was insane. Like I just remember getting to a point where I was like, I cannot add one more thing to my plate. I cannot pet sit. I cannot go out with a friend. I cannot date. Like I literally cannot do any more. I need a break. I'm burnt out. Like I felt that so hard and I just knew something was off and it needed to be corrected. So I finally, come June, I was like, this entire month, I am making very minimal plans. I literally just want this entire month to relax at my pool, do nothing, like decompress. And I did. Like I've been doing that most of the summer as much as I could. Like people ask me, they always like to know about my dating life. They're like, oh, like, do you have a new man in your life? Are you seeing anyone? How's your dating life? It's non existent. Like, I am just want nothing to do with it. It's an energy suck. I don't have time for it. I just literally have nothing in me to give to that. So this summer for me was really trying to hit the reset button and take a break because I don't know, it was a lot at one time, and I'm someone too where I just go and push myself and think I can do everything, and it catches up with you, like truly. Like I hit a wall in a way. And I don't know if anyone else is feeling like that, but if you are, again, this is what this episode is for. Like ways to fill your cup and to prevent that. And if you are at that point of burnout, like you don't want it to get you to a situation where you're like so paralyzed or you're angry and you're taking it out on other people or you feel like you have to quit your job or you're suicidal, depressed, whatever the case may be, however it's affecting you. I know for me, something that contributed to my burnout was my issue of perfectionism, and I think that's something that a lot of women struggle with. It's definitely probably my most toxic trait, like what I am trying to work through a lot right now. It's super hard. Like, I feel like I've changed everything externally for myself for the better, and there's nothing left to change externally. Like, now the focus is really doing like the internal work. It's like, how am I self sabotaging? In what ways am I holding myself back? And I know for me, a lot of it is perfectionism. And I mean, I also have high functioning anxiety, and that kind of ties into the perfectionism, but I've let perfectionism run my life for a long time, and I didn't even know that that's what that was at all. And it can feel very debilitating. It's addictive too. Like, it's a cycle. It's so hard to break away from that, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it, but it's so like immersed into my way of being. Like, I don't know any better. It's second nature. And it's funny because my therapist told me that I should listen to this video by Brene Brown called Atlas of the Heart. It's like one of her specials on HBO, and I've seen other things from her too. I'm trying to remember the name of what that one was. Oh gosh, I can't remember. I swear my short term memory is getting worse and worse. But anyways, she told me about Atlas of the Heart, but I don't, that's like the one like streaming app I don't have is HBO. But this concept of synchronicity I always talked about was at play because we have a book club at my work, and that's the book that we were reading. So I was really excited because I'm like, oh, I can't watch her special on HBO, but I can read the book, which is like the same thing. So it made me really happy, and I understand now why my therapist recommended this book to me because a lot of it, like it's basically talking about like all the different human emotions we experience and breaking down like why we feel them, what does it mean. And there's one chapter specifically on perfectionism, and I think that perfectionism affects someone at some point more so than others. I mean, for me, like I said, it used to be subconscious, but now it's conscious. Like now I understand what it is and that it affects me in the way that it does. But it just was so like eye opening and insightful to understand like the root of it. And there's this, so I'm just going to read some snippets from the book, but there's this quote that says, where perfectionism exists, shame is always lurking. It's just like, how can one sentence be so like powerful and just eye opening? And it's true. Like, at the heart of it, it's like, as someone who can explain it, that like just deals with this every day, it's just like you're on the hamster wheel. Like if you can picture a hamster and there's a carrot that's like dangling in front of the hamster, and the hamster thinks that he's going to get the carrot, but he never does. It's impossible. And you're just spinning your wheels like constantly, and you're tired, and you still don't have like the carrot or what you want, or you're not fulfilled in a sense, is kind of the metaphor that I can explain it as, because there is no such thing as perfection, but like my brain doesn't understand that. It keeps thinking that there's all these ways in which I can attain perfection, because it goes back to like shaming yourself and rejecting yourself and being fearful of rejection, and you're trying to do everything to avoid it, and it's just like, but it's still happening. Like it's making a self-fulfilling prophecy, because at the end of the day it's like, I'm not being authentic. I'm not like, I'm still have those people pleasing, like not vocalizing my true feelings type of like attitude, and it works against you, and I think people sense that. And so again, it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy, and actually you're doing the opposite of what you're trying to do with perfectionism, and then it just turns, again, it's a really ugly cycle, is how I can explain it. It's an ugly cycle, and it's addicting, and it is something that very much leads to burnout, and it did for me. Like I said, I hit a wall, because it was like, okay, I have this great new job, I have my apartment, like I have my podcast, I've done all these great things, but I'm still tired. Like I just need a break. What more do I have to prove? What more do I have to do? So I guess for me, that's something that I've been trying to work through these last couple months, and like be really mindful of it, and just like take breaks, like spend more time with myself, just go to the pool and decompress. I took a break off social media for a good month. I needed it. I just was like, ugh, get me off Instagram, please. Like, it just is so toxic sometimes, like what it's turned into with the algorithms, and like so hard not to like compare yourself. And that's another huge thing with perfectionism. Like I am horrible when it comes to comparing myself. And again, I know people listening, like we all do it, especially with social media. It's impossible not to. We are hardwired to compare. But it's like, how far do you let it go? Like how much do you let it affect you? And like, even, I'll watch like Instagram reels. I still don't have TikTok, but sometimes I'll get sucked in the rabbit hole of the reels, and like people take really cool videos. Like they've made like these new like vlogs, video blogs of their life, and they make it look so cool and glamorous, because it's a 30-second snippet of like all these highlights of their life, all the funnest times. Like anyone can do that essentially. So it's not only happening in pictures, but it's happening in videos. And I feel like the videos are like almost make it worse in a way. Like it just makes it look so much more real and cool, that like, oh, this is the life they're living, where they're partying and they're going to concerts, and again, it's like the best moments of their life into like a 30-second clip, or like a movie preview, and you think it looks like the greatest movie ever. And it's like, but what is their actual real life? And like it's interesting too, because I saw, I don't know what was it, but like even a lot of the videos on Instagram have filters. Like people are editing these videos like crazy, between like the effects, the filters, the music. Like they're literally mini movies almost. Like it's crazy. So anyways, it's just, Instagram is one of those things where it makes it even that much harder to not like compare yourself. And um, there's another quote from the book that I want to read about perfectionism. So it says, it may seem counterintuitive, but one of the biggest barriers to working toward mastery is perfectionism. In our leadership research, we've learned that achieving mastery requires curiosity and viewing mistakes and failures as opportunities for learning. Perfectionism kills curiosity by telling us that we have to know everything, or we risk looking less than. Perfectionism tells us that our mistakes and failures are personal defects. So we either avoid trying new things, or we barely recover every time we inevitably fall short. So that's the other piece of this too. Like with perfectionism, it's um, constantly being afraid to make mistakes or fail or look dumb or be perceived as stupid or less than in any way possible. Like I definitely feel that 100%, to the point where I am afraid to voice my opinion or speak up or say anything, or because it's all like it's being afraid of judgment, how people are perceiving you, um, what people are thinking, like, and it's just constant shame and judgment on yourself all the time. Like, it's actually really exhausting. And so it's, I don't know, like, again, this is something that I know we all have dealt with. And then again, talking about the addictive part of it, it says perfectionism is a self-destructive and addictive belief system that fuels this primary thought: if I look perfect, live perfectly, work perfectly, and do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize the painful feelings of shame, judgment, and blame. Like, just everything, like, this chapter just sums up so much of things that I feel. And I think that women tend to struggle with perfectionism more than men. We struggle with a lot more than men emotionally, and just with a lot of different things. Sorry, I hate to break it to you, men, but women just, at the end of the day, we have it harder. So I know that there are several people that are going to listen to this and be able to relate in whatever way shame or perfectionism affects you, some more than others. And so, like I mentioned, for me, it's this addictive, toxic cycle. And then it's interesting too, because in this chapter, they have this petri dish, and there's like a puddle, and it's labeled shame. And then there's these eyedroppers, and the eyedroppers say judgment, secrecy, silence. And all the eyedroppers contribute to shame growing larger. And then there's another one, and another eyedropper that says empathy. And then when you put it on the puddle, it shrinks. It decreases this ugly black puddle of shame. And so basically, Brene Brown in this chapter said kind of what you need to, like, alleviate this shame and judgment and perfectionism is empathy and authenticity towards yourself. It's like being kind to yourself and just accepting yourself and not rejecting yourself. Like, so many people tell me that I'm so hard on myself. And, like, I think I'm helping myself at the end of the day. If I do all these things, if I work so hard, like, I'm helping myself. And it's like, but I'm actually not. I'm hurting myself. And then it leads to burnout and all these other feelings. So, truly, that's why they say to be kind to yourself and have self love and know how to fill your own cup. So, that's something that I've been learning how to do. And everyone kind of has their own ways. So, I'm going to talk about ways in which you can do that. So, for me, like, I think hobbies is a really good place to start. I just think that they add that fire to the soul. Like, it's just so good across the board to try new things and to not be stagnant and do the same thing over and over again. Especially, it's just like we all live our mundane Monday through Friday at work or whatever our routine is. And, like, having a hobby just, I don't know, it like breathes new life into me. It gives me something to look forward to. So, like, I started salsa dancing classes back in April, and I had always had an interest in ballroom dancing, but specifically more the Latin styles. Like, I don't know where it started, honestly. I mean, I grew up dancing, so I've always had a draw towards dance. But I think what really did it for me was Dancing with the Stars. Like, I remember watching it growing up. I didn't watch every season, but I would see them do like these dances, and I just thought like the women looked so like sexy and confident, and like it's just so cool to watch. And like, it's an art form, like it's a literal art form. And it was 20 fall of 2020 with COVID. Not much was going on, so I watched a season of Dancing with the Stars, and just like, oh, it was what I needed, honestly. It was that serotonin. It was a pick me up, and I told myself that at some point in my life I was going to try Latin ballroom dancing because it just looked so freaking cool and something that I always wanted to do. And finally, spring of this year, so I get a wellness stipend through my work up to $500 a year. And I said, you know what? I'm going to utilize my wellness stipend, and if I don't like it, I don't like it, but at least I can say I tried. And actually, again, with the synchronicity, I was out for a walk one day, and I'm walking around my neighborhood, and I see two people doing like this Latin salsa type dance outside. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? Like, it looks so cool. And then I look over and I see a sign for the name of the dance studio. And I was like, no way. I said, don't tell me there's a freaking dance studio that offers Latin ballroom dancing lessons 2 blocks from where I live. Like, this just can't be real. Like, again, it was like the universe wanted me to see that. So I said that was a sign. I have no excuses not to do it. I'm not going to continue putting it off. This is something to do for myself. So I did. Like, I looked at the website immediately when I got home, signed up, basic level 1 salsa, and I did it. And I, like, of course, going for the first time, it was scary. Well, actually, I went to the studio to get more information because I wanted to talk to someone in person. So I did, got the information I needed, signed up for the class. And I'll admit, the first one, definitely, I felt intimidated, awkward. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, all those thoughts are running through your head. But after the first class, you realize, okay, you're not the only one in this situation. Everyone's starting off not knowing anything about salsa. It's basic one for a reason. And after the first class, I just was hooked. I was like, wow, like, I'm just going to keep doing it. I actually, when I was having this feeling of just being burnt out, not wanting to do anything, I considered not doing the classes and like taking a break from it. And I'm like, you know what? That's stupid. I said it's 1 hour a week. That's it. 1 hour. There is no reason that I cannot make time for myself for an hour to do this one thing in the week. Like, it's absurd. I said if I don't continue, then I'm just going to get off track and it'll be harder to like catch on to what I already know. So I decided to stick with it, and I'm so glad I did because it gets more fun the more you learn, because then you you're learning these new skills and these new moves, and you put it together and like it just flows. Like, it feels so good. So it's just one of those things, the more that you keep doing it, the more fun it gets. So I'm in love. I'm obsessed. I've been meeting people through it. Again, it's like it's just such a great hobby. It's just something like it's something that keeps me present. Like, when I'm in class, I don't think about anything else. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about responsibilities and chores. Like, it's one of those things. I'm moving my body. It keeps me mindful. It keeps me present. Like, I'm enjoying myself. It's something to do purely for me, for the enjoyment of it. I didn't sign up for it thinking I had to be the best at it, or I am doing it because I'm already good. Like, no. I started not knowing a thing, and that's what I loved about it, because I'm trying something new and I'm just doing it for the pure enjoyment of it. And I think that's why hobbies are so important to do, because if we're not doing activities that are filling our cup, we're just going to get depleted. We're not going to be fulfilled in any sort of way. If we just work and watch TV or go on social media, like, it's just finding those ways in which it's something's being added to your life, it's recharging you, it's making you happy. You have to find those things, and I highly encourage people to start with hobbies, whatever it is. Like, it doesn't matter. It could be a cooking class, it could be yoga, tennis, a sport, music, like literally anything. So for me, it was salsa, and like I said, I keep doing it. It's great socially. It's interesting too because there's salsa socials around the city at a couple places. So you can go and dance socially. And like, so this was a new experience for me too. So the place that I take classes at, they hold socials like every other week. And I went to the first one, I think it was a month ago. And I didn't know what to expect. Again, I was intimidated, but I just did it. And it was amazing. Like, so many people were there, like a lot more than I thought. And people, like, guys just come up to me and they ask you to dance, and you're just dancing socially. Nobody's on their phones. Like, I literally felt like I was transported into another time. Like, this isn't 2022. Like, social media and phones don't exist. Or I thought I was in another country, like, I love the music. I just love everything about it. And again, it's something that you just like, you're present, but you can feel like you're not in like the present day, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, it just all around was like one of the coolest things I ever experienced. So I've been to 2 socials. There's another place by me that does it. So I want to keep going to more. I haven't had as much time as I would like to, but it's another great activity for me to do in the winter time to really enhance my skills, because that's the thing. Like, it's so different what I learn in class versus dancing with someone like a complete stranger, because dancing with every person is so different. Like as a lead, I have to allow them to lead, and like they're going to do whatever they want to do and I have to follow. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's coming next, but that's also what makes it fun and more interesting and like almost spontaneous. And like I felt like I needed that in my life. So again, going back to just adding, I guess, that spice in your life, like being a little bit more spontaneous, stepping outside your comfort zone, trying new things. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. Like, it's like, oh, I've tried salsa. Like, let me try cooking classes. Like, I'm horrible at cooking. I don't like cooking, but I need to like learn how to make at least one adult meal. And I'll be so proud of myself after I learn how to do this and I challenge myself. So, it's just trying things that you don't already have to be good at. And I think this is another way that like I'll be able to combat the perfectionism, or maybe other people out there who are struggling with it too. So another thing I wanted to mention with burnout, because I keep talking about it and some people may be like, well, what exactly is burnout? How do I know if I'm feeling it? So common signs of burnout are just feeling tired or drained most of the time, feeling helpless, trapped, or defeated, detached or alone in the world, having a cynical or negative outlook, self doubt, procrastinating and taking longer to get things done, and feeling overwhelmed. And a lot of times, burnout relates to work. I think that's where a lot of it usually stems from, but it can stem from other things. It can stem from people that have families who are always on the go, and especially moms that sacrifice a lot. Moms can feel burnout, and across the board, maybe it's people who are just constantly people pleasing and not putting themselves first, and they don't even realize it. And then, like, so I guess for me, like when I was feeling burnout, this was back in May when it really hit me, and I just was like, I have to make changes. I have to do something, because I had a day at work where, sometimes things just come out whether you want them to or not. And I broke down and cried. I mean, work was so busy. It was like, that and last month, like July, were the busiest that work has ever been, where you just don't have a minute. And I was doing so much on the weekends. Like I said, you just know when you hit a wall and something's off. And I felt that. It was like just irritation, crying at work. Like the smallest things would upset me, getting angry, just across the board. And I remember too, like I was going to bed very early, like trying everything to just be like, what can I do to not feel tired? What can I do to not feel this way? And even with getting 9 or 10 hours of sleep every night, or whatever I thought was doing helped, it was like, I know that that's just not even gonna help me anymore. Like getting adequate sleep, like, it goes deeper than that. It was like, for me, like I really had to be like, listen, I need no more plans. Like I cannot do one more thing for one more person, because I am somebody who, I'm overcoming a lot of people pleasing tendencies. I like to help other people. I have a hard time saying no. I care deeply about my friendships and relationships with people and family. But I literally was just like, I was like, if someone asked me to do something, like, I'm saying no. I simply cannot do another favor or chore for anyone else. Like, I have to fill my own cup. I am not making plans. Like, I'm not going out unless I absolutely have the energy. Like, I think I went out 2 times in June, like very rare. Like I just could not wait to literally like have no plans. Like I remember there was one weekend in June I spent probably 16 hours at my pool in 2 days. Like it was the best thing of my life. I was like, wow, I could do this all the time. Like I didn't care about having plans or seeing people. I remember one weekend I completely just spent it with myself on the couch, just doing my own thing, going to the pool. Like, and you have to make lifestyle changes and just simply put a pause on it and say, I'm not doing anymore. Like even with the podcast, it's like it made me sad that I hadn't recorded in so long, but I said, I'm taking the summer off. Like if I try to force it, it's not gonna feel right. I'm not gonna, like, it's not gonna come through well in the episode. I just don't wanna force it. So even this passion project of mine had to be put to the side in order for me to really like feel like I could get back to a place where I wasn't feeling burnt out with, all these other things I was going through. So again, even with hobbies, like if you don't have it in you right now, that's totally fine. Take the break. Like do nothing if that's what it takes. or just, but it's like if you do have the energy and you do need something to fill your cup, again, hobbies are a good way. But I was at a point where I couldn't do it. All I had it in me was to do the 1 hour of salsa, and like I've put the podcast to the side. So again, sometimes that happens and it's okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. Things have to get put to the side in order to get back to a place where you will want to do it and have energy and it feels right. So essentially, I just wanted, to cover that about burnout and kind of like what can lead to it. And then in terms of other ways to alleviate, so I talked about hobbies, and then I think that, I guess, like for me, like getting to know myself is another way that kind of helped me like overcome what I needed to not feel this way anymore. Because like if you're not self-aware and you don't know yourself, it makes it harder to like tell yourself what you need and pull yourself out of it. And like I felt that when I lived in Seattle so much. Like that was the hardest time in my life. Oh my God, I don't ever want to feel that way again. Like I borderline was depressed, and depression is not something that I've ever struggled with in my life. But when you get to a low enough point, like you'll feel it. And so back then, I didn't have the self knowledge that I do now. And I think I could have changed the way that I was feeling, but I didn't. I didn't have that knowledge then. And so the fact that I do now has made it easier for me to kind of cope with like these difficult feelings that I have, or I guess I give myself what I need better now. So it's like ask yourself, what do you need? And then give it to you, because nobody else is going to be able to. Not your significant other, not a friend, not a family member. Like sometimes there's nothing that anyone else can do for you. You have to help yourself. Again, it's pouring into your own cup and giving yourself what you need. And it's also like when you're able to do that, it's so much more like fulfilling and rewarding. So knowing yourself is really helpful in terms of how to help yourself, because like so to go off that, I love personality tests. I mean, I naturally am very drawn to psychology, but there are things too. I recommend personality tests that also might, like, they give ways in which, like, oh, doing this is like good for your personality, or whatever. I don't know. Like, again, it's to help you really like learn about yourself, and certain activities or things might be tailored for you. So like, for example, I'm really big on the Myers-Briggs test and the Enneagram. So I took both those tests, and I'll start with the Myers-Briggs. Absolutely love Myers-Briggs. I think it's so accurate. Um, that one is the test where there's 4 letters. And I'll kind of go through and explain like what the difference is. Okay, so there's 4 letters. So the first one is, are you extroverted or introverted? And again, it's not like a simple black and white, because you can be both. There's extroverts who have introverted tendencies and introverts that have extroverted tendencies. It's just more like which way you lean, I guess, like which is more natural. So for me, I'm introverted. I love to be social sometimes. I connect with people. I have a lot of friends, but there are times where I need to recharge my social battery. Like I need downtime for me, and I don't do well in really big group settings. It's hard for my real personality to show. I prefer to connect one-on-one, and just make genuine friendships that way. And I have to warm up to people too. Like I'm not just gonna give you all of my attention or want to interact with you. Like I have to feel comfortable and that sort of thing. So first one is extroversion or introversion. Second one is sensing or intuition. So it says sensing is people who process things in a step by step linear sequence and observe and remember specific information. They also tend to focus on the facts and what can be observed through their 5 senses. Intuition, so that's N, is used for people that have a preference for intuition, generally learned by seeing the big picture and themes and thinking about how specific information is connected. The third letter is either T or F. T stands for thinking. So people who have this preference tend to make decisions based on pros and cons and weighing logical consequences from an objective point of view. F is feeling. So someone who has a preference for feeling, meaning they make decisions based on how those decisions might affect other people involved. The last letter is judging or perceiving. So judging are people who have a preference for lists, making lists, planners, they like structure and schedule, and they like to space out projects so they get work done a little bit at a time. And then perceiving are people who want flexibility in their lives and in how their time is managed. They'd rather be open to new opportunities for events and like making decisions on the fly, um, and sometimes enjoy working on things at the last minute or on their own schedule. So for me, I am an INFJ. I am introverted. I lean on my intuition, or I am a feeling person. So I am always thinking about how my decisions might affect other people, and definitely judging. So I joke that I am a neurotic psychopath because I love lists and organization and schedules so much. I'm inherently a planner, trying to learn to be more spontaneous and less rigid. It's a work in progress. So those are mine. And it's interesting because INFJ is the least common type. I think 2% of the population's INFJ. So overall, the big personality traits of INFJ are like someone who's super deep and complex and, not I like you couldn't look at an INFJ and be like, oh, they fit in this box. Like it's a very layered type of personality. And then I would say that our stereotypes, so we're known as the advocate, the therapist, the one that's really always trying to like do good for other people and in the world. And so I guess that encompasses really what an INFJ is. Anyway, so after knowing that and reading about it and just feeling like for once I'm understood, there's other people out there like me. Not many of them, but like just to read something that really resonates with you is like so helpful. And then, there's all these things about like I said, ways in which INFJs typically like to enjoy their free time, like what triggers them, so like for INFJs, like surface level conversation is not something that is going to fill my cup. I like deep one-on-one conversations, like constantly going out and being around other people and having my social battery drain is not going to fill my cup as an INFJ. And again, it's not so black and white, but I think across the board you'll find with these personality tests, like you'll see, okay, yeah, like that makes sense. Like as this personality, like doing these things is going to help me more. It's going to make me feel better. So you have to figure out what that looks like for you. So start with the Myers-Briggs. I think that one is pretty easy to like find whatever yours is and get a sense for that personality. And then the other one is the Enneagram. And so that one is broken down into 9 personality types, and Myers Briggs is broken down into like 16, like with all the different letters. So I think that the tests are good for different things. Like, I think that Myers Briggs is better at more of the like surface level, general type personality traits, where Enneagram, I'd say that test is definitely a little bit more intricate, and that you do have to know yourself better to really know which one it is. Because I remember I took it, this was like back in 2018, and I got a 6. And I was like, I don't know if that sounds like me. And then I had this, in these last 3 years of being single, I've really been forced to get to know myself essentially, and I know myself much better. So I circled back to the test and I took it probably like 15 times to really make sure that I knew what number I was to get consistency. Because I was really coming up between being a 1 and a 3, and then finally it was like 3, 3, 3, 3 with a wing 2, which makes sense. So 3 is the achiever with a wing 2, which is like the giver and helping others. So my dominant personality is the achiever, which I think is very true. And I think with the Enneagram, a lot of it's more like subconscious. Like it's our subconscious drive that like we don't even understand we're doing sometimes, and that is so me. Like with the comparison and the perfectionism and the achieving and just constantly like having to prove like I'm worthy, because with the Enneagram, like the core fear is like that's the other thing too. It like figures out like your core fear and your core motivation. And so for an achiever, it's like this feeling of value, of being worthy, of like being accepted, and like the achiever constantly feels like we need it through external achievements. Like, what more can I do externally to feel valued and like people care about me or I'm worthy in their eyes? So I don't know. For me, it was just all like made sense and was super consistent with things I struggle with and how I feel. So I definitely recommend those two tests. And again, they'll kind of give you ways to like help yourself and like work through things and how to make yourself feel better and like what's going to fill your cup. So I think that just knowing yourself and being self-aware really helps with that too. And so like one thing, again, I talk about this all the time, but like I love nature. I love being outside. It recharges me. Um, I just love it. I could do it with people or without, like being in the sun. I don't know what it is about the sun. I mean, I've said this before, the sun is medicine. I need to be outside if it's sunny. I just feel my best. Like, I can't explain it. Like, being in the pool in the sun, like, it's great. So, for me, I know that's definitely one way for me to recharge and fill my cup. And so, again, what does that look like for you? I know some people love to cook. Cooking is another great activity where, um, it's something where like you can be mindful or you can kind of not and just like do it. I think you can have both in that way. Some people love cooking, baking, painting is a big one. Like I'm just trying to think of things that aren't social media and TV, and like there's nothing wrong with doing those things to decompress, but they don't always fill your cup, and a lot of times they're distractions. And I know for a fact social media, you 99% of the time it's not filling your cup. It's a distraction. It's mindless. If anything, it leaves you feeling worse about yourself. It does for me. So really try to think of things that just like are mindful and they make you present and they make you feel better. So sports is another one. Any sort of physical activity is great, working out. And I know it's hard to like get yourself to work out sometimes. Like for the longest time, I kept telling myself, you need to work out, you need to work out. And I just never got around to it. And then finally, once I was like more settled and in a good routine where I could more easily carve out time to do it. So like, I hate that I sit all day since I work remotely. I felt like it was catching up with me physically, and I think that's another thing that have kind of left people like something that they've had to adapt to is like with working remote and sitting and just being stagnant. Like it is so bad for our bodies. Like we need to be moving a certain amount throughout each day. It is not good to sit in the same spot day in and day out. Like I'm at a point where I haven't even been working remotely for a year and I'm like I have got to start like going to work at the library or a coffee shop and getting a change of scenery, especially come winter time. Like that's just going to make me even more depressed. So moving your body or making a point like also is really great. So like what I started doing, and again, this is not for everyone, you have to find ways to fit it in your day, but like I started waking up 30 minutes earlier because I wanted to fit more physical activity in. Because they say if you sit 8 hours a day, you should try to get an hour of exercise then to like balance it out. So that's been my goal, an hour of exercise at least Monday through Friday, if not Monday through Thursday. So um, I wake up 30 minutes earlier and I do 15 minutes of cardio, and then I get ready for work and I bought a standing desk so that I have the ability to stand. Well, actually, I don't have a standing desk. It's like a riser that I put my laptop on. But again, it allows me the ability to at least just stand throughout my day because you burn a little bit of extra calories and it's just better for your body. And it makes a difference, truly. Like, I do feel better now that I've been using it. And then on my Apple Watch, you have the 3 rings. So, like, I try to close all 3 rings, like the stand ring, the exercise, the move ring. That's been really good to kind of keep me on track and show me, like, how much I'm moving in my day. So, if you have an Apple Watch, highly recommend utilizing the rings and the exercise features. Or if you like sit all day, consider getting a standing desk or a riser. I got mine for like $75 off Amazon, but the investment is just huge. So, moving your body is also a great way. That's why they say to go for walks, especially like while it's nice out still. Like, utilize being able to get fresh air. And like, that's something that I had to realize I needed to do more. It's so easy to like get sucked into your computer and not even look up or get up and take breaks. And that totally is going to leave you feeling more drained across the board, like really bad. So, if you have to set a timer, even if you just take a walk for 10 or 15 minutes, like, it will make a difference. So Just taking those breaks, taking a walk, moving your body. Like for me, I know if you tell me to work out for an hour after work, it's going to feel like a chore. So like I've tried to break it up so that mentally it's easier for me. So like I'll do the 15 minutes of cardio in the morning, and then I'll do 15 minutes of free weights at night, and then like 30 minutes of yoga. And for me, that is what helps because, and again, you have to find ways that are going to motivate you. Like, I have to change up what I'm doing. I cannot do the same thing for an hour. Like, I'd rather die than run on a treadmill for an hour. It's not going to happen. I don't really like doing activities that are stagnant. So, again, you just have to find those ways, like, super easy for me to get lost in the moment. And like if I'm doing salsa, like I wish I could do it more throughout the week because such an easy hour right there. Like the hour that I have at salsa goes by so fast. So again, just find ways that you can have more movement in your day and something that you're genuinely going to enjoy that does not feel like a chore. So that's another thing I suggest too. Like I said, if you work remotely, like getting a change of scenery, and that's something that I realized recently that I need to do because I just was feeling like there are some days where I just like am like, God, I don't want to go downstairs and be in this room, this same room that I work in all the time. Like I am not looking forward to it. And I hate that feeling because it's like I don't want to dread work. And it's not that I do, it's just like the mere fact that I'm sitting in the same spot doing the same thing all the time, right? Like, who wants to do that? So, um, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I went to this coffee shop near me because I wanted to check it out. And it was so cute. And I'm so glad I looked at it because I'm like, wow, this would be a great spot to work. Like, when I don't have a lot of calls, just again to get that change of scenery. So that's definitely like something I'm going to make a point to do in the winter time. Hopefully, not going to places that are too hard to get to because of the snow in the city. I mean, it's just not going to be fun. But I mean, that coffee shop is literally a block. It's like in walking distance, so there's no excuse. So definitely gonna do that. And then I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, it's just like the smallest things, like a hot shower, a cup of tea, reading a book, doing a hobby, getting a change of scenery, going for a walk. And these are all things that I kind of mentioned last year too when I had this episode of um, just really like hitting the reset button. So I don't know what it is about this year that I'm feeling called with like the same energy or the same kind of like vibe for this episode. Like again, I just kind of go with the flow. Whatever I feel needs to be talked about, whatever the vibe is feels right, that's what I'm going to discuss. So maybe I feel on a collective level this is just the time to do that. But anyways, oh, there's something else I wanted to mention with this too in terms of like doing things for yourself, even if you're in a relationship, like having the ability to do things on your own makes all the difference in the world. Like, we don't realize how cathartic and rewarding and empowering that can be. So, like, for me, there's this little Italian restaurant in my neighborhood, and it's so cute. They have like this outdoor patio. You literally feel like you're in Italy. It's like hidden, just the cutest thing. And I said I've been wanting to go there, and it's actually really good for date night, ironically. But I just was like, I want to enjoy this patio and this cute restaurant, just me, have a date night with myself, because you have to do that sometimes. Like, it's good to do that. So I did. I made a reservation and I sat outside, and it was like 8:30 on a Wednesday, and I was just so determined to do this. I was like, I actually had to wait like 45 minutes for the table and didn't eat dinner until like 9 o'clock at night, but I didn't care. I had a glass of wine before, just chilled, waited, got my table, ordered my pasta, sat outside. It was a beautiful night. I did not even care at all. Like before, it would have felt so awkward, and it just didn't for me. Like I think the wine loosened me up a little bit, but I was like simply just enjoying myself, people watching. Like, you think people are watching you, no one's really watching you. Like, honestly, everyone is so in their own world. And even if they are watching you, they probably think, wow, look at that person eating alone. Like, how powerful is that? And before, like, sometimes I would feel sorry seeing people eat by themselves, but that's because I just didn't understand that like it was okay to do things alone, and that like I actually shouldn't feel sorry for them. Like, if anything, that's empowering. Like, back then I should have felt sorry for myself for not like realizing that that's not a bad thing. Because and there's this quote, and I find it to be very true, and it said, if you can eat at a restaurant alone or go to a movie alone, you can do anything in this world. And like I find that, like, I just feel like that's so true. Like at the end of the day, it just makes you feel more confident and empowered. So I like went, had my meal to myself, just literally was enjoying my own company, and I ended up getting a free piece of key lime pie, which was just the cherry on top because I love key lime pie. Who doesn't love free dessert? Like it just was so nice, and I was really proud of myself. And I didn't wait to go until someone could go with me. Like I just simply did something for myself. And I think too, like it kind of helps doing that during the week, not just on the weekends, and to like have that change of scenery and just like do something fun. Like just because it's a work night doesn't mean you still can't enjoy yourself. Like sometimes I get caught in that mindset and I'm like, no, no, like it's a Tuesday, like I'm just gonna stay inside and like be a good girl, it's a work night. And it's just like, no, like live a little bit. Like you can go to dinner, you can have a drink during the week in moderation. Like you need that break so it's not so mundane. And that's kind of another thing that gets us in this, that makes it on the fast track to burnout, is like just being so mundane and doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like at some point that's going to catch up with you. So like find ways to try to like spruce things up and change that, because I think it's really helpful. So I don't know, essentially, like I said, I just really felt called to talk about some of these things. I think across the board, like it's just really helpful for people, especially going into winter soon, where that depression and burnout can maybe creep in more. So I just want to help people avoid that, I guess. Like, so I'm just trying to give you tips and tricks, and it really comes down to, like I said, getting to know yourself, take the test, figure out like what are good ways in which you're able to fill your cup. And because nobody wants to feel burnt out, nobody wants to be at that point. But if you are at that point, like I said, it's not too late to change things around, or maybe you realize like what's not working for you and what you have to cut out to make some big life changes. And finding those small ways where you are filling your cup is going to make you realize more of what's not working, what's actually leading me to this, what's making me feel bad, what has to go. Like I think that that is so true, that when you um, are figuring out all the ways in which you're able to make yourself feel better, you're going to see more clearly like what's not. So that's another thing I wanted to bring up. But anyway, so the last thing is that small habits lead to big changes. Again, just I find it to be so true, because like I don't know how to explain it, but it's like even with working out, like you may work out for a month and feel like you don't see results, or oh, I'm only working out 15 minutes today. What is that going to do? But it's like if you work out 15 minutes every day or 5 days a week, that's more than not working out at all. Like that's still going to do something. And doing it starting small is going to build you up to be able to maybe do it more. It's like, okay, I work out 15 minutes every day, but now I'm ready to work out for 20 or 30. Like you build upon it too. But so like don't sell yourself short, because and that's the thing too, is like breaking it down into small actionable goals makes it so much more easier to accomplish and not feel like, oh, well, I didn't do that. I didn't work out for an hour today, so now I'm going to feel bad about myself and beat myself up. Like don't do that. So break it down into small actionable goals. Start with one thing. Don't think you have to like knock out these three things. Like just start with one small thing. And like I said, it makes all the difference in the world. And that actually, I think dopamine is the reward center of the brain. So if you want like to feel that dopamine, literally just write one thing that you want to do in a day and then cross it off. And you did your one thing for today, and you can feel good about it. So the small habits lead to big changes. And for me, like I have my whole routine in the morning. Like not everyone's a morning person, but like I just really started trying to like instill these good habits. So like making a bed makes a difference. I make my bed every morning. I eat breakfast, take my vitamins. I now work out. I don't know, like for me, like I said, I need all of that. Like it really gets my day off to a good start. I also have a manifestation journal, And when I go downstairs, before I even open up my laptop and get sucked into my emails, I say no. Before I open my laptop, I am making a point to write in my manifestation journal and be intentional and make sure I do that every day and start my day on the right foot. Like, so whatever that looks like for you, have at it. Like, you do not have to do all the things I do. Maybe just start with one of them or whatever appeals to you most. But getting your day off to a good start and not starting it being on social media, because I do that sometimes. Like, I'll be sitting down eating breakfast and it's so habitual to want to look at my phone. And I notice when I do look at my phone and I start to scroll, I get sucked into it and it makes me so like, I'm like, oh, I don't want to like get up and like get my day started. So, like, please, if you can avoid that, do not start your day scrolling. Like, try to find other ways, because I notice a difference when like I don't scroll and I just sit there and I eat my breakfast and I do what I need to do, and it makes it easier to be able to get up and like finish my morning routine and then be motivated to like start work. So that's another thing that I wanted to raise. And then also, one of the vitamins that I wanted to bring up that I take, it's called ashwagandha. I actually don't even think it's a vitamin, it's like a natural supplement, but it helps with mood regulation, and it's like for stress. It like alleviates stress. And I remember, I think it was last year, I had ran out and I stopped taking it and was like, I don't need it. And man, I noticed such a big difference from me not taking it. Like, I completely was more on edge and like not feeling myself. And I was like, wow, I did not realize how much of a difference this made. So it's all natural. It's from India, but it really helps with like relieving stress, and it's just natural. Like, it's good for you, and I noticed a difference. So if you kind of want to incorporate like something more positive into your day, start with taking ashwagandha, because again, I felt the difference, and maybe you will too. So I recommend that as well. But anyways, this episode turned out longer than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. I feel like I got everything out that I wanted to, and it feels good. And, at the end of the day, I hope that this was something positive, good reminders or good ideas for ways in which you can just, again, fill your cup, prevent burnout, and really take care of you. So, with that being said, I'm going to end this on that note, and I'm just super happy that I got to like I had downtime this week to record and get an episode out there, because my fall is going to be busier than I thought. Like, I thought for sure, oh, after Labor Day, things will slow down, like fall's coming. Like, nope, my September's jam packed. I'm sure October's looking kind of busy. Like, I really don't think things will slow down for me until November or December. So, just trying to enjoy it and go with the flow. But probably won't be able to really get back recording episodes and putting them out there consistently until winter time. So I had the time to do this one though, and it made me really happy. So I hope that you all enjoy it. And like I said, just keep on doing things that are good for you, and filling your cup. I want to see that from everyone. I want to feel it. And I just hope that everyone enjoys these last couple weeks of summer. Soak it up, soak it all in. I know that fall is really exciting. I'm looking forward to it, but don't rush the season. Enjoy it, because I promise you in a couple months when it's winter, you're going to be wanting it back. So take in these last couple weeks, enjoy it for what they are, and I hope that everyone has a great rest of their week. So we'll see you around next time. Bye.